currently free on the App Store. You can download it. You don't have to have an Adobe subscription, which is really nice.
Do you need to have a test flight or something?
Nope. While you were describing all of the computational photography and stuff, I downloaded it and started playing with it, and it's pretty nice.
Okay. I got one last thing. Okay, there is this new Adobe Project Indigo camera app that got kind of like stealth launched. This is quite interesting. So Mark Lavoie, who is the person that invented HDR Plus on the Nexus 6. I've talked with him extensively over the years. He is very smart. He basically created computational photography.
He made the Pixel cameras good.
Yeah, he really defined the Pixel camera look.
He also said that they made it based on art, which is interesting.
Well, the Pixel 6, yeah, they used Renaissance art. And Pixel 7 and 8, they moved away from that a little bit. But so anyway, in 2020 or so, Mark left Google to go work at Adobe, and he said that he was going to be working on a universal camera app at Adobe. It made a lot of sense for him considering he like invented computational photography, right? So we were all kind of like waiting with bated breath to see what is this universal camera app that he's working on. It's been a long time. It's been like 5 years. And last week, he dropped with Adobe this new app that's in super beta called Project Indigo. The cool thing is you don't actually have to have an Adobe subscription to download it, which is nice. It is currently only available on the iPhone, which is not nice, but you know, it kind of makes sense in some ways. Anyway.
Hard disagree.
Well, I don't know. They have to develop whatever. Okay, so basically, I read the technical paper on this because they released this whole paper about it, and effectively, what it is just a intense, ramped up version of what HDR Plus was doing on the original Pixel phones. So I just want to give a short primer about computational photography on smartphones. Generally, HDR on smartphones, the way that it does it is that it takes multiple really short frames and then it aligns them, and then it boosts the overall exposure of those frames. And generally, when you don't get a lot of light on a pixel, you have more noise, which is just random pixels that don't get the information. And when you up the exposure of all the pixels, you see the noise more. You know, there's this thing called the signal to noise ratio. So what they do with computational photography is because your phone has a gyroscope, it's able to know exactly what the pitch, yaw, and skew is of your phone at all given times. And so it can align the exact pixels over the course of like 7 frames, and that allows it to have a better signal to noise ratio because it takes the average of every single pixel, does that. So what smartphones have done for a while now with computational photography is it's taken like 7 frames and aligned those. But when you do that, when you're not getting a lot of light, you also have to do a lot of noise reduction because you're taking these really short exposures, you're upping the exposure, you have to do noise reduction. That basically smooths out the image, and then you have to apply sharpening. That's what's like led to this like smartphone plasticky look that we've had for a very long time. And so Mark's vision for this new Project Indigo app was to try to like kind of counteract that plasticky look. Also because it's HDR, it like crushes the highlights down and it brings up the shadows and it kind of creates a really flat sort of like tone curve. So what the new Project Indigo app does is a few things. One of the things is that it takes 32 frames of even shorter exposures, which will lead to lower noise, which is really cool. And then they also, and I guess they can do that because they have faster processing in phones now. You know, when the Nexus 6 was out, it was like, it took a while. Once you press the button, it would like process. But now these ISPs are like super fast. So you're able to take way more exposures and align them more, which reduces noise significantly, which is quite cool. They also did this, they have this new way of processing RAW files. So Apple's ProRAW on the iPhone basically will take, it's like a semi-RAW image. It's not true RAW because it's doing the demosaicing to push out the like ProRAW file. This creates a new type of DNG that doesn't do the demosaicing, which is, I have a whole separate, we have a whole separate video on the studio channel about demosaicing that we can put in the show notes. Practically what it means is that you're going to be able to get like way more color dynamic range, which is really nice. You're going to get way lower noise. And then it also has all these new features with like long exposure photography that looks really good that also uses like 32 frames of 1 second exposures. That looks awesome. It's going to have pro controls. Adobe's adding all these Photoshop AI tools like removing reflections in the mirror and stuff. So this new Project Indigo app, overall, it's like basically they let Mark Lavoie cook for 5 years, and they were like, do what you did for Google, but do it for us with the new technology that smartphones now have. And then they're also integrating all of these other AI tools that Adobe has developed over the last few years. So it's going to be like a test bed for a lot of these features. It's currently free on the App Store. You can download it. You don't have to have an Adobe subscription, which is really nice.
Do you need to have a test flight or something?
Nope. While you were describing all of the computational photography and stuff, I downloaded it and started playing with it, and it's pretty nice. I mean, UI is pretty intuitive. I've taken a few test images. This podcast studio has perfect lighting, so I'm not going to be able to actually see what it's good at yet, but I want to play with it.
Yeah, the one thing in the white paper that I was like, is that they're really in on HDR stuff and doing like tone mapping. They developed this new type of JPEG that basically can like apply a tone map later, and I just think HDR looks bad. I just think it looks bad. It always looks bad.
It's a lot of HDR.
I forgot that he left to go to Adobe to do this.
Yeah.
That was so long ago, but I am kind of excited for this. This seems
it's cool. I mean, it's interesting. And if you look, we can also put the article, we can also put like the white paper in the show notes. There's some samples in the white paper. Some of them are like, but then you look at the long exposure stuff and it looks really good. It looks very, very good. Part of the paper is he was saying like, smartphone photos can look like good on your phone, but as soon as you put them like on a big screen or try to print them, they look awful. And so they specifically were thinking about how can we take photos that are going to look good when you blow them up and not look like plasticky and horrible. So that's a nice little thing. So I'm pretty excited about that.
How long until you need a Adobe subscription?
2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the thing I'm most surprised about. This is you saying here's an Adobe product that doesn't need an Adobe subscription for it, which is wild.
I mean, funny enough, when you download the app, it has the like test flight looking icon where it has like the like blueprint chart thing that goes through it. So it's clearly like an alpha app, but it is interesting.
It's weird to me because this is like, at least in my opinion, clearly a pro app. You know, so like the fact that it is free without a subscription kind of is confusing to me.
Yeah, I mean, you can just point and shoot, but it does have a lot of pro controls. But yeah, regular people are probably not going to download
it. It takes all your photos and puts them into their AI research library.
I kind of want to go test some of the long exposure stuff because it looks really good. So anyway.
About to Montauk.
Ayo.
I'll play with it. We'll report back next week. See how it is.
We'll play with it.
Yeah. So. All right, so thanks for watching this clip, guys. I don't know if you know this, but when we shoot these podcasts, we have to turn the AC off because it's better sounding, but it's also 195,000 degrees outside, and so now it is cooking in here. So if you guys could just hit subscribe, then we could turn the AC back on, and everything will be fine again. Oh, did you?
Yesterday was literally the hottest day in New York City ever, right?
Yeah,
it works.
History.
Hit the button.